Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Donna Gray. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator from the Northern Rivers area in New South Wales, Australia. I am bringing you a super awesome diorama card using the Mountain Air bundle that is brand new from our 2020 mini catalogue. Now, this set was screaming out diorama cards to me. As soon as I seen it in the catalogue, I was like, that is exactly what I want to do with this bundle. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use some of the colors, similar colors to what's in the catalog, but I'm going to turn it into a diorama card, and it's really simple and really easy. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you give it a go. When you see how easy it is, I hope you give it a try and make some diorama cards. There's lots and lots of bundles that we could do, all different types of diorama cards like this. So if you don't know what a diorama card is, it's creating a scene but with different levels, and you have concertina sides on the cards. So enjoy my video. Now there is a fair bit of work to this diorama card, but I've actually done some of the things ahead of time to save a little bit of time. But as you can see, I have created this gorgeous diorama card. It has concertina sides. I'm changing this up a little bit. I'm popping some Seaside spray cardstock in there, but it folds flat and will go into an envelope. So it's a super cute card, but you can see the actual dimension and the great scene that we've created using the diorama effect. So let's get started. So the first thing that I've got is I've got some Whisper White thick cardstock, and it's cut at 4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. So I've got 2 pieces of Whisper White cardstock. I've got 2 pieces of Seaside spray cut at 3 inches by 5 3/4 inches. So this is the working mechanism of our card. And I've done a few things ahead of time. I've done some trees and things ahead of time just to save a bit of time, because there's a fair bit of work in this card. So this is the Mountain Air stamp set, and it has framelits that all match. The framelits that are the star of the show are these gorgeous trees here that are absolutely stunning, which we're going to use on our card. So, okay, so let's pop that aside and let's get moving with the actual working mechanism. So I'm using my rectangle stitched framelits, and what you need to do is just organize a size that's going to fit nicely on your card. Okay, so it's going to give you good borders all the way around. We've got a little bit more of a border down the bottom compared to the top, which that's totally okay. So you can actually push it up a fair bit on your card, as long as you've got a good 1/4 of an inch, nearly 1/2 an inch on the sides here. Okay, so I'm just going to grab our Big Shot machine, and I'm going to run that through the Big Shot machine, and that's going to cut out our frame for the front of our card. So I'm using my Big Shot machine, and I'm using my magnetic platform here. So I'm going to line that up. Now with these stitched framelits, it is always an idea to turn them on an angle so we don't have a straight edge that's going to go straight across through our machine, because that creates a speed hump for our machine, and our machine doesn't like speed humps. Okay, so I've got that lined up nicely. I've got more of a border on the bottom. Looks a little bit crooked there. I've got more of a border on the bottom than I have on the top, so that's totally okay. I've got a thinner border up on the top, so I'm just going to pop my plate on and run that through. And I do apologize if that makes the camera wobble. Okay, so this is our stitched rectangle shapes. You could do it in an oval shape. You don't actually have to do it in a rectangle. I like doing the rectangle. So there we have our frame for the front of our card. Okay, so I'm going to pop that aside. Okay, now we have our Seaside spray mechanism part of our card here. So this is the concertina part on the sides of our card that we're going to make. So I'm just going to bring in my handy dandy trimmer, and I'm going to use the scoring blade on this. So I'm going to pop it in with the 3 inches across the top, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to score at every 1/2 inch measurement. So we're scoring at 2 1/2, then back to 2, getting that nice and straight, 2, then back to 1.5, and then back to 1, and scoring, and back to 1/2 inch, and score there as well. So we're going to do that on both of our pieces of Seaside Spray. So once again, back to 2.5 inches, 2 inches, 1.5 inches. You can do this in a score pal as well if you have a score pal. So we're just scoring at every 1/2 inch measurement. So that's 1 inch and then back to 1/2 inch for the last one. Okay, so we have score marks every 1/2 inch on those side mechanism parts. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our handy dandy bone folder. There it is there. And we're going to fold on all of those, but we're going to fold them concertina style. So we're going to fold one this way, and then fold that one back on top of it, and then fold back the opposite way again. So we're getting that concertina look, okay? So you're going to get that zigzag, that W shape or the M shape, whatever you would like to call it. Then we're going to, with our bone folder, go through and make sure that every crease is creased really, really well. So I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to go again on the top, then in each layer, making sure that those are creased really, really nicely. Okay, so you're going to get a really good, definite concertina look. So once again, I'm going to fold that one over, that one back, that one over, that one back, and that one over. Okay, and back through with the bone folder once again. So on the top, into the next level, into the next level, scoring that really tight. And same on this side. So scoring them really, really nice and tight. Okay, so now you've got your two working mechanisms for the sides, okay? And you've got to have your open ends are going to be gluing to our front layer. So this layer here is going to glue. So you're going to have two open ends. So the first open end coming in towards like that is going to be on the front of the card. The second one is going to be backed with our back sheet on the back of the card, and you're going to have that working mechanism in your side of your card. Okay, so now I'm just going to pop those aside, and what we're actually going to do is we're just going to sponge this, and I'm just using a scrap piece of paper here. We're just going to sponge this using my makeup sponges. So I've got the oval makeup sponges, and I'm going to use a few different colors here. We're going to start with Mossy Meadow down on this bottom part. So that one's my green one. So we're just going to pop our makeup brush into there and gradually go onto our card. So what we're doing is creating that green area down the bottom, and we want it darker at the bottom. I'm gonna now, so that was Mossy Meadow. I'm gonna now come in with our Old Olive, and I'm gonna do some Old Olive a little bit further up. So I'm gonna do some Old Olive just here. Okay, so we've got that as the base of our card. Now I'm going to go through with a different oval makeup brush, and I'm going to go through with Seaside Spray is my first color I'm using. So I'm going to ink that up on my Seaside Spray, and I'm going to come in at the sides. So we're going to go from the green to our Seaside Spray on the sides. Then I'm going to go to my Balmy Blue. So I'm just trying to get some more depth of color here. So we're going to go Balmy Blue, And we're going to go up through there with our balmy blue. So it's a little bit like the sky. The sky gets a bit deeper in colour the further up in the sky that we get. Okay, so I'm just going to go over that a little bit with that balmy blue. And then I'm going to finally come through with my Night of Navy at the top. Now be careful when you do your Night of Navy because it's very dark, so it is going to make a fair impression on the top of your card. Okay, so we've got our Night of Navy coming through there, and I want to darken that, especially on that top section. So when you've got the most of your ink, you go over that top section, and when it's starting to ease off a little bit, you go down through the sides. Okay, so there we have our frame for our diorama card. So you'll see as this comes together how that frame just really sets the whole card off. Okay, so now the first part that we're going to stamp is we have the row of trees. So this is the stamp set here. Now these stamp sets are reversible and you can reverse them. I actually don't use them reversible only because they're not symmetrical, and that's totally okay if you want a bit of a watercolor look. But for this, we want definite mountains and definite trees. So I'm actually going to use it just with the detailed side up. And I'm going to bring in that scrap piece of paper again because it's going to stamp off here. So I do apologise for this grotty scrap piece of paper, but it's good not to get it in on your work surface. Okay, so now this is the width of our card. If you can see here, it's the width of our card. I've actually cut it 1/8 of an inch smaller than the width of our card, so it will fit into the layers. So instead of it being 4 inches wide, it's actually 3 7/8 wide. So I'm inking up my trees with my mossy meadow, and I'm going to come up around there. Okay, and I've got my lovely layer of trees. So I'm just going to clean that off, and then I'm going to stamp the rest of our mountains and things, and then we'll cut them all together. Okay, so I'm just going to clean that one off. Now I'm going to bring in the mountains. I've got 3 pieces here of Whisper White. They're all cut at 3 7/8 of an inch by 2 inches, and these are 3 layers that we're going to stamp with some different colours. So the first one that we're going to stamp is going to be Night of Navy. So we're going to stamp a row of our mountains with the Night of Navy. Now, how I got my mountains in this to be all different levels and humpy bits, all different levels, I started off with the first lot of mountains in Night of Navy, that I inked them up, and I stamped the first lot of mountains with this edge of the mountain just to the edge of my card, just like that. Okay? All right. Now, while that ink is still wet, we're going to get one of our blender pens. Now, our blender pens come in a pack of 3, and what they do is they just move the ink around. So we're actually going to go through with our blender pen and move that ink to get some colouring on our mountains. Okay, so it grabs our ink and moves our ink around. So we're just going to use circular motions and move that ink around while it's still wet. Okay, and you don't have to be too particular in how you do this, just some nice circular motions just to spread that ink and colour those mountains. Okay, keep spreading that ink, and we're going to cut these out. So I'm actually going to spread the ink down this way a little bit so that we don't have a border there that's white, and I'm also going to spread it up above my mountains so that when I cut my mountains out, I'm actually not going to get like a white line around my mountains. Now, I'm doing this because in the first one I actually did get a white line around my mountains, and I actually had to go back in with the blender pen and cover those white lines up. So just spread your ink outside those mountains. Okay, so the next mountain that we're going to do is we are going to turn this one over. So I do tell a lie. I did do one that I did the other way so that you could actually see what the mountains are like when you change it over. So I'm just going to clean that off. Now the one thing when you're actually going to turn those mountains over, you need to make sure that that is completely dry so that when you turn it over, it will stick to your block, okay? So this one we're actually going to do Night of Navy, and we're going to do full strength Night of Navy. So also once again, this is going to be a solid stamp, okay, when we do this. So once again, I'm going to move my mountains over because I've stamped that one right to the edge. I'm going to move it over a little bit and stamp it that they're just in the middle. Okay, now these are solid. So there you go. You've got solid mountain, no definition. So I'm actually going to take my Wink of Stella and I'm going to go over the mountains with my Wink of Stella and give it some glitter. I'm also going to go up above my mountains once again so that if my framelit doesn't go exactly to the edge, that I'm actually going to make sure that I don't have white edges there. So Wink of Stella all over my blue mountains here. And I'm also going to go back through here with some Wink of Stella on those graded bits, the bits where they've got the shading. We're going to pop some Wink of Stella on the mountains there. So it looks like the sun is hitting those areas and glistening on some snow. Okay, so just on the shaded areas, the stamp's doing it. And I'm just going to run a little bit down the edges of those other sides of the mountain. And just where you can see some of that shading, where the stamp does the work for us, okay? So that's going to give us some nice glimmery, shimmery mountains there. Now the next color that I'm going to do, I'm going to clean that off again and I'm going to turn my mountains around again because we have a third mountain. And you may say these colors are a little bit strange. Why are we doing mountains this color? But honestly, the picture in the catalog is gorgeous. So the colors work well together. Sorry, I'm going to do that one there. Okay, now I'm going to use a color and you're all going to say, we can't get that color. I'm going to use Purple Posy. And I know that we can't get the color. I know they stopped making the color, but I was lucky enough to actually get a Purple Posy ink pad. So I'm actually going to now stamp my mountains and I'm going to do it with this end to the edge of here so that my mountains are different. And I'm going to go back through with my blender pen once again. I'm going to make sure I've got no ink on there. And it doesn't want to do that. So, see, our Purple Posy ink is a little bit strange. So, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to go through with our Purple Posy on a oval sponge and an oval makeup brush, and we're just going to go over those mountains with our Purple Posy ink. Okay, and that's going to colour in those mountains and give them a bit of definition. Okay, so we have our mountains all done. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to take that grotty piece of paper away. I'm going to also go back through there with my Wink of Stella and go over, put a bit of glimmer and shine on my Purple Posy mountains. So just in the shaded area where it is all shaded, ready to go. As I said, the stamps do the hard work for us, and we're going to pop a little bit just coming down through. So you can imagine that the sun is on these gorgeous mountains and shining in that beautiful snow. Okay, so there we have. Now I'm not sure whether you can pick up that glitter. Yes, you can on the video. All right. So now it's time to cut our mountains out and our trees here. So I'm going to bring in the Big Shot machine again. Oops. Bring in the Big Shot machine. I'm going to grab my framelits. So I have a framelit for our mountains. So we're going to line our mountain up and cut that out with our framelit. So as you can see, because we stamped off on that end part. So you just got to line your mountain up, how you stamped it, and run that through. So we've got 3 mountains that we're going to cut out. Okay, so 1 lot of mountains there. Then we have our full solid navy blue mountains, and we're going to get that there is where it needs to be. Okay, so we're going to pop that on there and pop that down a bit there. Okay, so we're going to run that one through, and it moved. I'm just going to turn that plate over. Okay, that's better. Okay, there. Run that one through. And we have our solid mountains. Then we're going to run the Night of Navy ones through, and we'll pop it towards that way, which that looks good. And then we just need to do our trees with the tree edge. So we've got our 3 rows of mountains ready to go. So there's those ones. Now we have our trees, and we have a frame that matches those, and it's this gorgeous little edging framelit. And we're just going to line that up to where the trees are, where the gaps are, and that looks pretty good. Okay, and we're going to run that through. And we have our gorgeous little trees. Okay, so I'm now going to get that big shot out of the way. Okay, so now we have our layers here ready to go. We have these bits, and we also have our Whisper White back layer. So I'm going to bring in my scrap piece of paper again, and I'm just going to, with our Seaside spray, actually no, I'm just going to, I'll see what blue is left in here. Oh, there's a fair bit, so that's all right. So I'm just using what's left over in my oval makeup brush, and then I'm just going to go through that top section again with my Night of Navy, just to add more colour in that top section. Make sure you go off with your sponge and then come on, because the Night of Navy is much darker than the other, so it will be more obvious. So off and then on. I still want a little bit more on that top. That's getting there. So just be patient with your sponging. The more patient you are and the more you keep going back through and sponging, the nicer look you get. Okay, I'm just going to sponge down over that, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to take that grotty paper away. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to line everything up on our card. So our first section that we need to do is this gorgeous section here. So straight away you can see we can line that up in our frame. So I'm just going to glue that directly down to my frame. So I'm going to, with my liquid Tombow, just going to pop some glue here, along here and there. And I'm going to be able to pop that row of trees into that liquid glue. Make sure you turn it over and you see exactly where your trees are going so you can line it up. Now that's the first part of our diorama. Now we need to attach our side pieces to that front panel. So I'm just going to, with some liquid glue, I'm going to run a row of liquid glue all the way along that one. And I'm just going to line up that front frame with the edges, making sure that our edge doesn't pop out in here. Okay, so it just pops out in there. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that down and get that to glue on there nicely. All right, so nice and even, all in place. Just hold it in place until your liquid glue, it will take a couple of seconds for your liquid glue to take hold. And then you've got one of your working mechanisms already in place. So now we're going to take the other one, remembering to have the open side at the top facing in towards your card. And we're going to pop some liquid glue on this one. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take that edge, we're going to line it up nicely with the side of our frame. And when we've got it lined up nicely, we're just going to press down and hold to make that glue take hold. And that's your working mechanism. That's how easy it is. Now the next thing that we do is we add our layers one by one into that mechanism part on the sides. So our first layer that we're going to do is going to sit in, you can see here, you have this one here, and this one here. So our first layer is going to go glued onto that one there. Can you see that one there? So it's going to glue onto that one so that it's going to sit back away from our tree line. Okay, so I'm just going to, with some glue, pop a little bit of glue on the back of that one and a little bit of glue down here, because that's the two bits that are going to sit in on that fold. So I find the easiest way is to turn it over like this, pop it in that you've got it in on that fold, make sure it sits there nicely, work out where you want them. So I'm just going to sit that. I think that's going to be good. That's going to be perfect. So you can see the mountains are just sitting in behind our tree line. So then just hold that in place for a little while until that glue sets. And once the glue sets, you can see as soon as you let it go that those mountains sit in back away from our trees. Make sure when you glue your bits in that you hold it down like that so that when you squash your card down, they're all going to sit nice and flat. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our solid blue mountains and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pop a little bit of Tombow on that end. I say a little bit, that was way too much. And a little bit on there. I'm going to wipe a little bit of that off. That's a little bit too much glue on there, so I'll just wipe that off with my paper a bit. Okay, try again. Tiny little bit. That's better. Okay, so same thing again. We're going to sit our mountains in, but we're going to go on to the next one. So this one, this mountain here is glued to that one. So we're actually going to sit these mountains in that one there and that one there. Okay. That one there and that one there. Okay, so make sure that they overlap really nicely and it sits nicely in behind. Can actually go down a little bit. Okay, and we're just going to hold that. So we've got two lines of mountains and a row of trees now, and as you can see when you let it go, the mountains sit back in tiers. So it's absolutely super, super cute the way they sit. Okay, so now I'm going to do our last and final purple posy mountains. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on both sides. Same thing again, we're going to turn it over and we're going to put it in that next layer. Whoops, so Daisy, turn it the right way. Into our next layer. So we're going to do it up here and in there. I'm going to turn that over, make sure that they're sitting nicely. Beautiful. Okay, so already we have our gorgeous mountain ranges sitting beautifully in our card. And the last and final thing we're going to do to make the whole card come together is to pop our back on. So because we've shaded, so we've got the nice blue sky coming in. The other thing I want to do before I actually glue that on, I'm going to make a moon because we need to have a moon for up in the sky. So I'm going to, with our Mango Melody, I'm going to grab our moon and I'm going to stamp our moon. Okay, on a piece of Whisper White. Oops. So we're just going to stamp the moon there. And with our blender pen, before that dries, making sure it's clean, we're going to blend that around. So you can see the blender pen just really moves that ink around. And we're also going to go through and put a little bit of Wink of Stella on our moon as well. Okay. Now, the moon is perfect for our 1.5 inch punch to punch out that moon. No, it's not the 1.5 inch punch. No, I tell a lie. It's a smaller punch than that. I'll just grab it. Sorry about that. It's our 1 inch punch. Perfect size for our moon. So on that 1 inch punch moon, I'm actually going to grab my black memento and I want to pop some birds on the actual moon itself. Or you could call it a sun. I call it a moon. So I've got some tiny little birds and I just want to stamp those there. And then I want to place this here and I want to place my moon in place, but I also want to pop some birds in here just to take that plain look off that area there. So I'm just going to pop a few birds in around there. Okay. So now we are ready to put the back onto our cards. So same thing again, we're going to glue along these two bits, but we're also going to glue along this mountain here so that that adheres it in the middle of the card as well as the outsides, because that one's going to sit flush onto that part of our card. So now I think the easiest way is just to get over the top of it and line it up like that and pop it on. Then I pick it up and turn it over and make sure it's sitting really nice, which it is. So there we have the front and the back now on our diorama. I'm going to pop a dimensional on the back of our moon or sun, whichever you want to call it. And we're going to pop that up in there. Okay, now ahead of time, I've actually cut some trees out ahead of time just to save a bit of time, and I've done them in Mossy Meadow. I've got some black trees and I've got some Mossy Meadow trees. So on my Mossy Meadow trees, I'm going to bring in my scrap piece of paper again and I'm going to go over with some Mossy Meadow ink just to tone those trees and is that it? No. Where did it go? One of these. That one there. Okay, so I'm just going to tone the tree. So with my Mossy Meadow ink, just going to ink up my makeup brush and we're going to tone those trees. Just takes that stark white look off the trees and blends them in a little bit more. So you've still got the detail of your stamped image. It's just blending all those white edges. Okay, so our trees are done. And I'm just going to with our black trees, I didn't do this ahead of time, but I'm just going to, there's some tiny little pieces in these trees that I need to poke out. So I'm just going to poke those out. So bear with me while I do that. These are gorgeous, fine, intricate trees, and they're just stunning. I've seen people use them in black. I've seen people use them in white glitter, which is gorgeous. You could use them in silver and have like a really snowy scene and have some silver trees in amongst. I just thought black was great. Against these stronger colors, I just thought the black was nice just to set it off. So I'm just gonna poke out the holes in those. And sorry, I'm gonna have to do it to the other one as well, but it doesn't look as good if we don't poke all these little pieces out. Now we have a die brush too that connects onto the end of our pokey tool that would be perfect for getting those little pieces out. You could still have your cardstock in the framelit and, in the die, and you can just run your brush over it and you get a lot of these little pieces out beforehand. But it doesn't take long with the pokey tool, and I find it actually quite relaxing poking the little bits and pieces out, and it's quite rewarding when you get to the end of it and you've poked all those little pieces out and they're all out and it's all good to go. I missed one up there. Okay, so bear with me. All right, we're nearly there. And so now I'm going to, with these trees, I'm just going to arrange them on the diorama card and just play around a little bit with them and see where you think that they look nice on your card. So our two black ones are going to go on the front. These green ones, what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to place them randomly around. So the two, I think I'd like to have them, that they're poking up in between the mountains, if you can understand what I mean. Okay, so I've got one there, I've got another one over here. Actually, no, it's in behind there, which is good, yeah. Another one just there. And I'm thinking maybe one just over in there. So we've got some trees all popping up in between our mountains. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on the back of those, and they can glue directly onto the mountains that they're sitting on. So like that. This one here, whoops, give that glue a little bit of time to settle. This one here, we're going to pop in over there. Okay, this one here, pop a little bit in the middle, and he's just going to pop onto there. And then this one, we're going to pop it over on that side. Okay, so just like that. So we've got some gorgeous tall pine trees. Now I'm actually just going to pop these blocks on it and hold it down so that that will actually pop all them and make that glue adhere and take hold. So our trees are going to sit nicely. All right. Now with our black trees, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some glue dots, and I'm going to roll the glue dots up and pop them on behind the trees. So I'm just going to take that with my pokey tool, grab a glue dot, and just roll it in my fingers. Sorry about my grotty fingers there. That's what happens when you sponge. Then get the glue dot on your pokey tool, and I'm just going to, on the spine of the tree, pop that glue dot down. So I'm going to do 2 of them, and that will adhere it just into place to start off with, and then I'm just going to do the same thing, but I'm going to adhere it to my card. And they're small enough, when you roll them like that, they're small enough that they're going to stick onto your card nicely. So I'm going to do that with this one as well. So just 2 up the spine of your tree. So one like that, and another one just another about, I don't know, 1/2 inch or so above. like that. Okay, so that's enough to get them adhered to our card. So I'm now going to place one just there, which is super, super cute. And then I just want to stagger this one and place it a little bit down, but onto there as well. Okay. So now you can see where it's popping up there on that side. I'm going to grab another glue dot and I'm going to roll that up. And I'm going to pop one under that branch there to make that sit down. Same with the other side. So I'm just going to roll it up, get it on my pokey tool, and pop it underneath that branch there. Okay, and I'm going to pop one just under that side there, and we should be good to go. So just there like that. Okay, now just to finish this off, I think what I'm going to do is grab my Wink of Stella and I think just spritz it over all the front of this card. So make sure you've got all your ink pads clean and tidy and all with their lids shut. Just going to, hopefully there's enough in this one. So you just squeeze a little bit of your Wink of Stella down into the barrel of your Wink of Stella and then you just bash it on something quite hard. I think I'm going to grab another one. I think that one's just about out. Grab this one and see if it works any better. Okay. And just spritz it over the front of your card. Okay, so there you have. I'm going to just trim that little tiny stem of my tree off, level with the bottom there. And there you have a gorgeous diorama card. And the beauty of this is they fold flat. They'll fold flat to fit into an envelope, so they can fit into an envelope, and then they can actually sit up on a mantelpiece. So hopefully you enjoyed this awesome diorama card. I'm super, super excited to have been able to bring you this gorgeous card. And all of the items that I have used in this video today can be purchased through my online store, and I would really appreciate your business. And I'm sorry for how long this video is, but there's quite a few steps in the diorama cards. So all items that I've used, as I said, can be purchased through my online store, and I would really appreciate, if you live in Australia, I would really appreciate your business. It helps me bring you more videos like this. This is my full-time job, paper crafting. So your business helps me in every way. So thank you all for spending a little bit of time out of your day to watch my video. I hope I've inspired you, and I hope you want to try and create some of these diorama cards yourself. So thank you very much, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, click the subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. Any information that you would like to contact me is all in the show more box down below, so you can find the link to my online store, you can find my email address, you can find links to everything that I do, and if you wanted to contact me personally and place an order over the phone, I do that as well. You'll find my phone number down in the information as well. Thank you very much, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye for now.